It's already week 6 in college football, Ted. We got some good ones. Let's start in College Station. Number 9 Missouri travels to take on number 25 Texas A&M. This game will be an 11 a.m. kickoff on ABC, and the Texas A&M Fighting Aggies are a 2-point favorite at home. Ted, I assume this has everything to do with Missouri just not looking like the team people thought they were going to look like.
Yeah. Little bit different without the excellent running game that they had a year ago. The offenses just seemed a little bit lethargic, and it's not going to be easy to get it going at Texas A&M. Say what you want about A&M, but that is a tough environment to play football. It's going to be loud. They've got a good, solid defense with a lot of talent. And, and you heard Drinkwitz talking about it. There's some smoke screen there about who's going to start at quarterback. I agree with him that it's going to be Marcel Reed. He makes that A&M offense just look a little bit different, a little more dangerous. So can Texas A&M actually win the football game? My goodness, I don't know, but I think it's going to be incredibly close. I think it's going to be low scoring. I'd take Texas A&M like 2017, something like that.
I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility. My only hesitation, and the reason I'm picking Missouri to win the football game, is they've got experience at quarterback.
Yeah.
Brady Cook has played a ton of football. He's played in a lot of big games, and he needs to be really, really good in this game because Missouri, you look at the statistics, the running game has been solid, but it's not what it was with Schrader last year. It's just not. If you go and watch it, it's not as dynamic as it
They
was
led
a
the
year ago.
SEC easily in rushing last year,
It-
right?
yeah, and I think A&M's got a really good defensive line, and I think it could be difficult for Missouri to run the football consistently in this game, which means that Brady Cook's got to make plays in the passing game. And he's got weapons. Theo Weiss is having a good season. Luther Burden is having a solid season, definitely below expectations for a guy that talented, but
It can happen any moment.
at any moment. And that's what I think needs to happen. I think Luther Burden needs to be the difference in this football game for Missouri.
It feels like one of those things where if you're scanning box scores after the game and you check Luther Burden's stat sheet and he it doesn't look like he's got 2 or 3 catches for 30 or 40 yards, that ain't going to get it done. That's probably a Missouri loss. But if he has like a big explosive 65-yard touchdown, something like that, it's going to take something like that, I feel like, for them to be able to go in and get the win.
I like Marcel Reed. I think their offense has looked a little more dynamic with him at the quarterback position ever since Wegman went out. But he's also a
Still ain't good.
freshman.
Yeah.
He's a freshman. And this game is going to feel huge. And as good as he's looked at moments in these last couple games for him, he hasn't been in an environment like this. And I know it's at home, and I know he just played in a rivalry game at a neutral site, but there's a certain feeling, there's a certain pressure that comes with a top 10 team coming to town.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how Marcel Reed handles it. But one other factor is, hey, A&M, they just played a tough one against Arkansas, and Missouri's coming off a bye. They've had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. So do the rest and preparation, the extra preparation, does that give Missouri enough of an edge to where they can go and win this football game? I think you combine that with the experience of Brady Cook at quarterback and the fact that Missouri's got the best playmaker on the field with Luther Burden. I know a lot of people are really down on Missouri, but I think they're going to go win the football game. I really can't explain it. I can't justify it by saying, "Hey, this is where all the pieces come together." I just think that experience at quarterback, the extra rest, the extra preparation, I maybe I end up looking like an idiot, but I like Missouri in the game.
Yeah, it's
And
I
by the way,
can't
it's up to 2.5. Texas A&M minus 2.5.
I can't argue with anything that you said. I mean, I think that's you make the most logical case for it. Um,
You could just say you think Mike Elko's a better football coach than Eli Drinkwitz. Also,
yeah, I think I probably do, but does his team play exactly like he wants them to play yet? It takes time to get all of your systems, your philosophy into where your team is actually mirroring what it is you want them to do. I the only reason I'm just very slightly favoring A&M is the fact that it's at home. That's it. That's the only reason. Neutral site at Missouri. I think Missouri wins the football game, and they still are going to be right there. But I'm just if Missouri doesn't win the football game, they may fall quite a bit because they're only in the top 10 because of what they did last season. That's the only reason, right?
no doubt.
Yep.
Man, it's a massive game for that team because there are extremely high expectations for them this year with the way that their schedule lays out. So we'll see. One fun fact: Missouri covered the spread in every road game last season.
Huh.
Just makes you think a little bit.
Yeah.
Just makes you think. But we'll see. I'm excited to watch that game.
Yeah. I am
Sounds
too.
like you like the Aggies, and I'll be on the Tigers side of things.
Ah, man.
It doesn't feel good either way, brother.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
no.
It doesn't.
It feels gross either way. All right, moving on to the next game. Number 12, Ole Miss travels to South Carolina. 2:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. Ted, you're going to have to help me with this spread. Ole Miss is currently a 9-point favorite on the road against the Gamecocks. Make it make sense. After what we just saw Ole Miss do against Kentucky, the way we saw that offense struggle, and Kentucky's got a damn good defense. Don't get me wrong. But I'm supposed to pick Ole Miss to win by double digits against this South Carolina team in that environment. There's no way in hell.
No, I'm with you. South Carolina's defensive line is excellent.
That Kennard guy is a beast.
He is. He
I
is.
remember him at Georgia Tech, but he is. I think it's the jerseys. I think it's the color palette. It just
It
makes him
is a
look.
good look.
It just
Mean.
makes him, especially when he's in black. It just makes him look like just a
Yes.
bad dude.
And with Ole Miss, Ole Miss feels like a fragile football team to me. Um, and maybe that's not fair. It's just kind of the feeling I get. They don't have a deep rooted culture that you just get behind and lean on when things get tough and you drop a game that maybe you weren't supposed to, a disappointing performance at home. You got a bunch of transfer portal guys, and I know everyone does now, but I don't know. I feel like that is a team where they can start questioning the coaching staff really quickly, and things can fall apart. And South Carolina, that is going to be a crazy environment. And with that defensive line, they are going to be smelling blood in the water after what they just watched with Ole Miss against Kentucky. I think South Carolina wins the football game. I mean, I know that's a wild pick, but now they're going to have to be able to run the football. They hardly throw.
Well,
I think
Lenore
South Carolina's thrown
Sellers,
85 passes this season.
yeah, well, Lenore Sellers is reportedly back from the ankle injury that he suffered against LSU, and he's going to be the quarterback in this game. And he makes their offense so much more dynamic than what they could do with Robbie Ashford because of Ashford's limitations.
Mm-hmm.
throwing the football. So, I mean, if you go back and remember early in that football game against LSU, how that South Carolina offense was rolling with
They're
Sellers
running them off the
at
field.
quarterback.
Yeah, running them
I
out of the stadium.
I have to assume though, Shane Beamer's a hell of a football coach. We love the guy. You got to assume that they're going to look at what Kentucky did and try to utilize that blueprint a little bit.
No doubt.
Take them into the deep water, really control time of possession. And you got to get stops on defense. That's what Kentucky did. They won the battle at the line of scrimmage and got stops. But I assume that's what South Carolina is going to try to do. It not necessarily milk the clock, but just control the pace of the game.
Yep.
And if they can do that, man, I think they got everything they need to win this football game.
Kentucky exposed Ole Miss, and I didn't watch the whole game, but I did watch a good pieces of it as it was on right before us, and they made Ole Miss look bad. Not like that was not a fluke. They made Ole Miss look bad, and Dart was absolutely rattled. He looked very average or below as quarterback against what is a good solid defense. And South Carolina is exactly that, led by that good defensive line.
It's interesting. South Carolina's coming off a bye. They're going to be well rested. That atmosphere is going to be insane for this football game. And meanwhile, Ole Miss is limping into this one. They lost the game to the one team with a pulse that they've played this season.
Yeah.
Now, I think Kentucky's a good football team. Don't get me wrong. But the first opponent they played that was worth a damn beat them on their home field.
A little bit of a pushback, and they melted.
So what has Ole Miss done this season that could make you think that they could go into that type of environment in Columbia and win by double digits? They lost to the one team at home that they played that has a pulse.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no way I would take Ole Miss to cover that. And I wouldn't touch this game, period. I got no idea. I have no idea how this one's going to go, but this game feels very big for Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Because if you lose this one, all of a sudden the season that was supposed to be a special one where you're going to the playoff, all these transfer guys, who knows what happens if you drop two in a row?
That's what I'm saying. That's the one thing I've been kind of wondering with Ole Miss. Like, be careful what you wish for. As Lane Kiffin, first of all, you had the best job in the world, not very high expectations. We just want to be competitive. But you start saying we're never going to be competitive unless we get a ton of money to buy players. Well, they gave you a ton of money to buy players, and guess what comes with that? Expectations. And they're going to be angry if it doesn't pay off. And how can you hold that team together? I don't know. It's a big. You have to pick who wins the game, though. I'm not letting you off that easy.
Give me Ole Miss, just because do you want to hear my reasoning?
Sure.
The transitive property in football. Kentucky got destroyed by South Carolina. Kentucky then went to Ole Miss and beat Ole Miss. So, of course, Ole Miss is going to go to South Carolina and smoke South Carolina.
To complete the circle?
Yeah.
You got to
because the transitive property doesn't work.
Right.
If Kentucky smashes or gets smashed by South Carolina and then Kentucky beats Ole Miss, you would think, well, Ole Miss, they're going to struggle with South Carolina. College football is weird. That is my reasoning for picking Ole Miss to win the football game. Would never in a million years lay the 9. No chance.
Hey,
But college football, baby, it's weird. It makes no sense. So Ole Miss is going to win the football game.
that's as good of a reason as I've ever heard.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope Shane Beamer is surfing on his players in the locker room after the
Hey,
game.
I'll say this. Even though like we still haven't played our best football, and it's hard to really know what our capabilities are going to be this year. The back half of the schedule is looking a lot better than it did preseason. You know, it's still not. I mean, it's still going to be incredibly difficult. There's no doubt, but Ole Miss looks more gettable. Missouri looks more gettable. LSU looks more gettable. We'll see.
I think right now, when you look at the SEC, you've got 4 teams where if they're on the schedule, you go, oh boy,
Mm-hmm.
that's Alabama, that's Tennessee, that's Georgia, and that's the Texas Longhorns. And then everyone else, the other 12,
Any given day.
you look at and you go, hey, we can win that game.
Yep.
Those 4 looking real strong.
Yep.
The other 12, this thing feels wide open, which makes it a lot of fun. So I completely agree with you. You look at the rest of OU's schedule, a lot of teams that you thought were I don't want to you don't want to say they weren't winnable games, but where you thought they were going to be really, really tough to walk out of there with a win. You look at them, even with OU's offensive situation, and you go, I could see it happening.
Play the right game. Don't turn the football over. I mean that if we are just solid and efficient on offense and don't turn the ball over, we should have a chance to win most of the games. I mean, doesn't mean you will, but you should have a chance late. They should be able to keep you within striking distance.
Win in the margins, turnover margin, field position, make your field goals, that type of stuff.
Yep.
The stuff that everyone loves talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about one more game. And I number 10 Michigan at Washington, 6:30 on NBC. The only reason I'm bringing this up is it's a rematch of last year's national title game, and holy hell, has a lot changed since then. Washington's a 2.5 point favorite over Michigan.
It's crazy. I mean, only in college football can two teams play in the national championship, and 8 months later, two new head coaches. Uh, the offense, like I mean, the players dramatically on Washington have changed, and I guess Michigan to a certain degree. But it's just it's crazy that there could be that much change in such little time in programs.
Help me understand. Why should I think that Michigan, with Alex Orji at quarterback, can't just go into this game and pound the rock, play great defense, and walk out of there with a win? Exactly how they beat USC. I don't think Washington's nearly as good as USC.
I think they can. It's not like I mean
I keep staring
Washington.
at this line going, what am I missing? Washington, and I think Jed Fish is a hell of a football coach.
Yes,
I think he's going to build there. I think it's just going to take a little time to get the right guys. They've lost to Washington State and Rutgers. They're a 3-2 football team. And they're a 2.5 point favorite over Michigan with that defense. I I don't know, man. Give me the Wolverines.
yeah.
Spread, money line. Give it all to me.
I like Jed Fish, um, but his style of team and offense that kind of plays into Michigan's strength with how they defend. You know, kind of an NFL style football game called on both sides, at least defensively from Michigan and offensively from Washington. I think that plays into Michigan's strength.
Maybe maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Will Rogers comes out, slings it all over the field, and Michigan just can't stop Washington's passing attack. Maybe it looks like the Texas game. I don't think Washington has Texas's caliber of players though right now.
Yeah. And it's just it if you can get Michigan to where they have to play from behind by a couple of scores, you can beat their ass.
No doubt. Agreed.
But can you get out to that point? I mean, that's whenever things really change. If you're having trouble going the field on them, they are gonna turn it into the most boring football game ever. And that's when quarterbacks, a guy like Will Rogers, who's thrown like 10,000 passes in his career, is just gonna get lulled into I've got to make something happen. I've got to make something happen, and that's when you turn the ball over.
Michigan isn't nearly what they were a year ago. Neither is Washington. Both very flawed football teams, but even though I think the Michigan offense is very limited, I just think they can go pound the rock and walk out of there with a win.
And what they do really nullifies the road environment, you know, the style of play they have.
They get in this huddle thing where
Mhm.
they're really close together and they can just talk. It's weird.
Very slow, very deliberate, not a lot going on the line of scrimmage. It's just we're going to try and get 3.5 or 4 here, and then do it again, and again, and again.
I I did not expect to be interested in that game. Once I saw that line, I went,
Huh.
odds makers, you have my attention. Very effective. Very effective. I'll have eyes on the rematch.
It's college football, though. I mean, you know how it goes. Most difficult thing in the world to predict.